The CIA's creation, the drug emperor who blackmailed America. 1977. A drug lord makes the United States an unbelievable offer. Pay me $100 million or I'll poison your country. The man isn't joking. His name is Khun Sa. At his peak, he controls more heroin than any human being in history. 40% of the drugs on American streets come from his jungle laboratories. 1 in 4 U.S. overdoses traces back to his supply chain. Emergency rooms from New York to Los Angeles overflow with his poison. But here's the truly terrifying part. The CIA helped create him. Their covert proxies gave him his first weapons. Their training camps taught him how to kill. Now the monster they created is holding America hostage. Washington responds with everything: a $2 million bounty, a federal indictment, the largest multinational drug sting ever attempted. They spend 2 decades trying to destroy him, but he buries them all. Dies in 2007 in a villa, surrounded by his fortune and family. Never spends a single day in an American cell. How did a jungle warlord defeat a superpower? And what made him completely untouchable?
Chapter 1. The Creation, 1950-1963. The Golden Triangle, 1950. Where Burma, Laos, and Thailand collide in jungle-covered mountains. There are no laws here, only power. And in 1950, power belongs to the Kuomintang. These are the remnants of Chiang Kai-shek's nationalist Chinese army. Over 12,000 soldiers. Pushed into these lawless highlands after Mao's communists seized China in 1949. They're stranded, stateless, desperate, and secretly funded by the CIA. Washington sees them as a weapon against communist China. Guerrillas who can harass Mao's regime from the south. The CIA supplies them with weapons, gold, and military advisors. What Washington doesn't see: a half-Shan, half-Chinese teenager watching from the edge of every training session. His name is Chang Shifu. He's memorizing everything. How to strip and reassemble a rifle blindfolded. How to set an ambush in dense jungle. How to read terrain for tactical advantage. And most importantly, how to turn violence into profit, and profit into power.
Is complete.
The CIA is training their future nightmare, and they have no idea. Every technique they teach will eventually be used against American interests on a scale no one can imagine. By his early 20s, Chang Shifu commands his own militia. Small, hungry, and dangerous. He starts with protection rackets, extorting opium farmers in remote Shan villages. They have no police to call, no government that cares about them. But here's what separates him from every other jungle thug scrambling for scraps in the Golden Triangle. Chang Shifu thinks in systems.
Is verified.
He doesn't just want to steal opium. He wants to control the entire supply chain. From the poppy fields to the refineries. From the smuggling routes to the foreign distributors. In 1963, he makes a deal that will define his entire career and change the trajectory of the global drug trade. The Burmese military needs someone to fight communist insurgents threatening the Chinese border. Chang Shifu volunteers his militia. In exchange, the government gives him something priceless: immunity. He can traffic as much opium as he wants with official protection. The Burmese army just handed a future drug emperor his first license to operate. Within 2 years, his militia has better weapons than the Burmese military itself. He buys black market arms by the truckload. Rifles, machine guns, mortars. He trains his fighters with the same discipline he learned watching those CIA-backed KMT soldiers. Locals whisper his name with fear. But Chang Shifu isn't satisfied with being a regional player. He wants the throne of the entire Golden Triangle drug trade. And in the spring of 1967, he makes his move.
Chapter 2: War and Defeat, 1967-1969. Imagine 500 armed men marching through mountain passes. 300 mules in a line stretching half a mile. Each animal carrying raw opium worth a fortune on international markets. Chang Shifu is sending this caravan straight into territory controlled by the Kuomintang. The same forces who trained him, the same networks that have dominated the Triangle's drug trade for 15 years. He's not just competing, he's declaring war on his former masters. It's either brilliant or suicidal, maybe both. The convoy snakes through jungle trails for days, moving slowly to avoid detection, guards scanning the tree line for ambush. Then, near the Laotian border at Vang Vieng, the jungle explodes. Gunfire from 3 directions simultaneously. The Kuomintang had been waiting, and they're furious at the betrayal. But they're not alone. Laotian army units smell the prize too. They attack from another angle, hoping to seize the shipment for themselves. It's a 3-way slaughter for 16 tons of opium. Mules collapse in the crossfire. Men scream and fall. Then the Laotian Air Force arrives. Bombs fall from the sky, turning the jungle floor into a hellscape of fire and shrapnel. When the smoke clears, Chang Shifu has lost everything. His entire shipment destroyed or seized. Scores of his men dead or scattered across the mountains. His reputation for invincibility shattered in a single afternoon. The 33-year-old warlord barely escapes with his life, fleeing into the jungle with a handful of survivors. Meanwhile, his enemies celebrate. The Kuomintang think they've eliminated a rival. The Burmese government decides Chang Shifu has become more trouble than he's worth. October 1969. Chang Shifu steps off a plane at Heiho Airport for what he thinks is a routine trip. But he walks straight into a trap. Security forces swarm him before he can react. The charge? Treason. Flirting with rival rebel groups. He's 35 years old, shackled and thrown into a Mandalay prison cell. His empire is finished. The jungle prince will rot in darkness for the rest of his life. At least that's what everyone believes. But Chang Shifu is about to spend 5 years learning a philosophy that will transform him from a defeated warlord into the most dangerous drug lord in history.
Chapter 3: Prison and Rebirth, 1969 to 1974. Mandalay Prison. 5 years of concrete walls and silence. Most men break under that kind of isolation. But Chang Shifu evolves. He devours every book he can get his hands on, especially Sun Tzu's The Art of War. He writes down the principle that will guide every decision he makes for the next 30 years. In politics, there are no lifelong friends and no lifelong foes. They change according to gains and losses.
The combination.
He has no loyalty, no sentiment, no relationships that can't be sacrificed for advantage. Every alliance is temporary. Every friendship is a transaction waiting to be exploited. He sees every human being as a chess piece to be moved and sacrificed. He enters prison as a warlord who made emotional decisions. He'll leave as something far more dangerous, a pure strategist who sees humans as chess pieces. Outside the prison walls, his most loyal followers refuse to give up. They've been waiting, planning,
watching for an opportunity. In 1973, they execute the most audacious rescue operation in Burmese criminal history. They kidnap 2 Soviet doctors working at a hospital in rural Burma. The ransom demand isn't money, it's Chong Shi-fu's freedom. The Burmese government faces an impossible choice: humiliate themselves internationally by releasing a convicted traitor, or let Soviet citizens die and face Moscow's fury during the height of Cold War tensions. They can't afford a diplomatic crisis with the USSR. In 1974, after 5 years behind bars, Chong Shi-fu walks out of prison and immediately disappears across the Thai border. The Burmese government assumes he'll fade into obscurity, a broken man grateful just to survive. They're about to learn what happens when you cage a wolf for 5 years, sharpen his mind with military philosophy, and then set him free with a burning desire for revenge and power. Within 2 years, he rebuilds everything he lost and transforms himself entirely. He takes a new name, Khun Sa, meaning Prince Prosperous in Shan. But the name is just the beginning of his reinvention. He declares himself a freedom fighter for Shan independence, a revolutionary hero battling Burmese tyranny. It's a masterstroke of propaganda. The Shan people, an ethnic minority, neglected, oppressed, and forgotten by the central government in Rangoon, embrace him as their champion. They don't see the heroin refineries hidden in jungle clearings. They see the schools he builds, the clinics he funds, the roads he constructs through their villages. Khun Sa has discovered something powerful. Wrap your crimes in a flag. Convince people you're fighting for their freedom, and they will die for you. They will protect you. They will hide you from your enemies. By 1976, he commands a reconstituted army called the Shan United Army. By 1977, he operates from a fortified base at Ban Hin Tak in northern Thailand, complete with barracks, artillery positions, and anti-aircraft missiles. Thai generals look the other way because he's useful as a buffer against communist insurgents. The American-trained bandit has become an American-tolerated warlord. But Khun Sa isn't satisfied with regional dominance. He wants the world to know his name. And he's about to make an offer the United States will never forget.
Chapter 4: Blackmail and Industrial Death, 1977 to 1989. In 1977, he sends a message through intermediaries to Congressman Lester Wolf, chairman of the House Select Committee on Narcotics. The offer is deceptively simple. Pay $100 million and I'll sell you my entire opium stockpile directly. Invest in development for the Shan people, and I'll retire from the drug trade forever. It sounds almost reasonable until you realize what he's really saying. I control the largest heroin supply on Earth, and I can either take it off the market or flood your country with it. It's your choice. It's extortion disguised as negotiation, blackmail dressed up as diplomacy, and most importantly, a criminal holding a superpower hostage. Washington is forced to confront an impossible question. What do you do when a narco-terrorist offers to solve the problem he created for the right price? Some pragmatists in Congress are actually tempted. Could paying one man really eliminate a third of the world's heroin supply? But the White House refuses categorically. Paying criminals sets a precedent that would invite every drug lord on Earth to try the same trick. They call it blackmail and publicly vow never to negotiate with narco-terrorists. Khun Sa receives the rejection in his jungle headquarters and smiles. He was counting on it. The offer was never really an offer. It was a threat, and now he has permission to execute it. If America won't pay, they'll suffer instead. What he's planning next will be called an industrial revolution of death.
In the 1980s, Khun Sa doesn't just expand his operation, he revolutionizes the entire global heroin trade. He relocates his headquarters to Homong, deep inside Burma's Shan state, beyond the reach of Thai authorities, who are finally facing American pressure to act. There in the jungle, he builds something the world has never seen, a functioning narco-state with its own government, its own economy, and its own industrial policy for producing death. By 1985, he forges an alliance of Shan warlords under his banner and creates the Mong Thai Army, 18,000 regular soldiers, 5,000 trained reserves, 8,000 village militia scattered across his territory. That's over 30,000 fighters, armed with mortars, rockets, machine guns, and shoulder-launched surface-to-air missiles capable of downing helicopters and low-flying aircraft. For perspective, that's larger than the standing armies of many United Nations member states. He establishes schools, hospitals, tax collectors, even a puppet parliament called the Thai Revolutionary Council. Within his borders, Khun Sa is not a drug lord, he's a head of state. But the real weapon isn't his soldiers, it's his chemists. Dozens of heroin laboratories operate around the clock throughout his territory, refining raw opium into number 4 heroin at 90% purity. Before Khun Sa, street heroin in American cities was typically cut to 3 to 5% purity by the time it reached users. His product is up to 20 times stronger, and he's producing it at industrial scale, thousands of kilograms pouring out of jungle refineries every month. Western drug enforcement officials call it an industrial revolution of death, and they're not exaggerating. The numbers tell the story in bodies. In the mid-1970s, Southeast Asian heroin was a minor player in the American drug market, perhaps 5% of the supply reaching U.S. streets. Under Khun Sa's reign, the Golden Triangle's opium output explodes to over 2,500 tons annually, more than half the entire global supply. By 1989, Golden Triangle heroin accounts for 80% of the product on New York City streets, and Khun Sa personally controls nearly half of that flood. The DEA estimates he's responsible for 40% of all heroin entering the United States. Think about what that means. 4 out of 10 heroin overdoses in America trace back to one man's jungle laboratories. He's killing more Americans annually than some wars, and getting rich doing it. At home in Shan State, Khun Sa maintains his double identity with careful precision. When foreign journalists make the dangerous trek through mountains to interview him, he offers smooth justifications. Westerners are going to use drugs regardless, he argues. I'm merely a businessman meeting demand. Besides, he says with his hand over his heart, every dollar funds the Shan struggle for self-determination. It's a masterful moral dodge. Many Shan villagers buy the narrative completely. To them, Khun Sa is the only leader who invests in their communities. He builds roads where the government builds nothing. He provides security where the government provides only neglect. Compared to the distant regime in Rangoon, which offers nothing but airstrikes and broken promises, the opium warlord seems benevolent. Of course, the Burmese military sees things differently. Throughout the 1980s, their forces clashed sporadically with Khun Sa's army, but never seriously, never enough to threaten him. Why? Because many high-ranking Burmese officers are secretly on his payroll, profiting handsomely from the trade they publicly condemn.
Exchange is clean.
The corruption runs so deep that Khun Sa's real perfection isn't his missiles, it's his bribes. But here's what makes Khun Sa different from every drug lord before or since. He wants the world to know exactly who he is and what he's doing. In 1988, with Ronald Reagan declaring a war on drugs from the White House lawn, Khun Sa declares war right back, on camera. He invites international journalists to his headquarters and gives a press conference that stuns the world. With cameras rolling, the 54-year-old warlord looks directly into the lens, repeats his $100 million buyout offer, and then taunts the DEA directly. Why not use a bandit to catch a bandit, he asks, smiling. He's not hiding, he's advertising. He's daring the most powerful nation on earth to stop him. The United States responds by placing a $2 million bounty on his head. That same year, Thai police and DEA agents intercept one of his shipments, 2,400 kilograms of pure heroin en route to New York City. The street value, hundreds of millions of dollars, enough doses to supply hundreds of thousands of addicts. It's one of the largest drug busts in history, and Khun Sa doesn't even flinch. Losing 2.4 tons of product is a rounding error when you control half the world's supply. The US government tries direct military pressure too. In 1982, they persuade Thailand to assault Khun Sa's base at Ban Hin Take. Over 1,000 Thai soldiers, backed by helicopters and fighter jets, spend 4 days destroying his compound in fierce jungle combat. Buildings burn, ammunition stockpiles explode, bodies litter the perimeter. But Khun Sa himself? Gone. Vanished across the Burmese border hours before the final push. Another legendary escape. Within a year, he's rebuilt. Bigger, stronger, more fortified than before. Every time they knock him down, he absorbs the blow and grows larger.
Now secured.
By the mid-1980s, he controls 150 miles of the Thai-Burma border. In 1989, a federal grand jury in New York indicts him on heroin trafficking charges. He responds by giving another interview, calling American leaders hypocrites. The world's most wanted drug trafficker is hosting press conferences in the jungle, while American emergency overflow with his poison. How long can this possibly last? What finally breaks an empire that has survived everything thrown at it? And why does the ending of this story make absolutely no sense?
Chapter 5: Collapse and Siege, 1990 to 1996. The early 1990s bring enemies that Khun Sa can't buy, threaten, or outrun. The Wa militia, an ethnic group that has been rivals of the Shan for generations, rises to challenge his supremacy. But these aren't ordinary competitors.
The perimeter is
The Wa are backed covertly by the Burmese military junta, which has finally decided that Khun Sa has become more trouble than he's worth. Wa fighters know the jungle terrain as well as Khun Sa's own men. They're disciplined, ruthless, and they're playing for the ultimate prize: control of the entire Golden Triangle heroin trade. Unlike DEA agents or Thai soldiers who can be evaded and outlasted, the Wa aren't going home. They're fighting for territory they intend to keep forever. Simultaneously, the DEA launches Operation Tiger Trap, the largest multinational drug sting ever attempted against a single target. Working with Thai police, they systematically identify and dismantle Khun Sa's distribution network piece by piece. His brokers in Bangkok, arrested. His shipping contacts in Singapore, extradited. His money launderers in Hong Kong, accounts frozen. In 1994 alone, 11 of his top lieutenants are captured in a single coordinated sweep across Thailand. His smuggling routes into the country are sealed shut for the first time in 20 years. His allies within the Shan nationalist movement begin defecting, publicly accusing him of betraying their cause for personal wealth. The freedom fighter mask is cracking. For the first time in 30 years, Khun Sa is losing on multiple fronts simultaneously, militarily, logistically, and politically. By 1995, he's trapped in a shrinking territory with enemies pressing every border. The Wa are advancing from the north, seizing villages that have been under his control for a decade. The Thai military has finally barricaded the southern routes his smugglers depend on. The DEA is hunting his remaining brokers across 3 continents. His own health is failing. Decades of jungle living, stress, and chain smoking have taken their toll on his 61-year-old body. Intelligence analysts predict an imminent collapse. The DEA prepares for what they call the endgame scenario, a final siege of Homong that will end with Khun Sa either dead in a firefight or dragged out in chains for extradition. Everyone expects a Scarface ending, the aging drug lord surrounded by burning product and dead bodyguards, going down in a blaze of gunfire, refusing to surrender. But they're about to learn that Khun Sa never stopped thinking 3 moves ahead. January 5th, 1996, the world receives news that makes no sense at all. The Burmese military junta issues a calm press release. Khun Sa has surrendered. Not to the Americans, not to the Thai authorities, not to the Wa, but to the Burmese government itself. The same government that imprisoned him in 1969. The same government he's been fighting for 2 decades. The same government that branded him a person to be hanged. There was no battle, no siege, no dramatic last stand.
Khun Sa walked into a Burmese camp, shook hands with the generals, and negotiated his own retirement. The terms are so cynical they almost defy belief. He disbands the Mong Thai army and officially exits the drug trade. In exchange, Burma guarantees he will never, under any circumstances, be extradited to the United States or any other country. He keeps his fortune, hundreds of millions of dollars accumulated over 3 decades of drug trafficking, and he gets to live freely within Burma's borders for the rest of his natural life. The United States demands extradition immediately. They cite the 1989 New York indictment. They invoke international law, diplomatic pressure, and every tool at their disposal. Burma's response is simple and final. No extradition treaty exists between the two countries, and none will be negotiated. After years of American sanctions, criticism of human rights abuses, and support for pro-democracy movements, Rangoon has no incentive to accommodate Washington on anything. Khun Sa has found the one jurisdiction on Earth where American legal power cannot follow, inside a government that views the United States as an adversary rather than a partner. He relocates to a villa in Yangon, the Burmese capital. The property is spacious and comfortable, with gardens and round-the-clock security personnel. Over the following years, he reinvents himself one final time. He invests his drug fortune into legitimate Yangon real estate during a period of rapid urban development. He operates a bus transportation company with routes across the country. He runs a ruby mining operation in Burma's gem-rich regions.
I am simply a man of circumstance.
When journalists occasionally gain access for interviews, he describes himself as a humble real estate agent now, and reminisces about his years as a revolutionary. The transformation is complete. Warlord to prisoner to revolutionary to drug emperor to retired entrepreneur. Each identity adopted when useful, discarded when necessary. The DEA keeps his indictment active for the next 11 years. They continue pressuring regional governments to freeze his assets. They file diplomatic protests annually. The efforts produce nothing actionable. Khun Sa remains in Yangon, protected by a government that has no reason to surrender him, and every reason to keep him comfortable and quiet. He dies on October 26, 2007, of natural causes at age 73. He never appears in an American courtroom, never sees the inside of a U.S. prison. The Burmese government provides him a formal burial with appropriate honor.
Epilogue: The Untouchable Truth. The story of Khun Sa isn't just about one man's criminal empire. It's about how power, politics, and pragmatism create monsters that become impossible to destroy. The CIA trained him. Cold War politics protected him. Corrupt governments profited from him. And when the time came to pay for his crimes, geopolitics gave him sanctuary. He understood something that most criminals never grasp. In the modern world, you don't survive by hiding. You survive by making yourself useful, by wrapping yourself in causes, by becoming too complicated to eliminate. Khun Sa died a free man because he was never just a drug lord. He was a CIA asset who became inconvenient, a freedom fighter whose cause was profitable, a businessman whose product happened to be death. And in the end, Burma's hatred of America was stronger than America's desire for justice. That's how a jungle warlord beat a superpower. Not with guns, not with money, but with geopolitics, corruption, and the cold calculation that some criminals are too useful to punish and too dangerous to forgive. The question isn't how Khun Sa got away with it. The question is, how many more like him exist right now, protected by the same forces that created them?
If you did, please remember that I create everything on this channel by myself.
And I can only keep doing this thanks to your likes and comments.
I'm Mustismy. See ya until the next video. As always, take care.